his story. You've no doubt seen a lot of him on DVD already, and now you'd like to see him in person. So I would like to bring him up so he can share his wealth of knowledge and knowledge of the wealth. Please bring to the stage Mr. Jamie McIntyre.
Good morning. How's everyone doing today? It's good to have you along. I'd like to first welcome you to 21st Century. It's a pleasure and honor to have the chance to share with you over the next 4 days. First of all, I just wanted to acknowledge and I guess commend each and every one of you, because I know for some of you had to, it's quite a commitment to be here. Not just a financial commitment, you can always make money back, that's not such the issue. But for many of you, the bigger commitment is time, is it true? Some of you had to rearrange your work schedules, leave some kids at home, do all sorts of things and travel great distances to be here. And I truly respect that, and I commend you and acknowledge you for that, because I look at my journey back, over 15 years ago when I was starting out on the journey that many of you are just starting out on now as far as developing a financial education and building a better future. I certainly had a lot of dreams, a lot of hope, but I simply didn't have the resources, the knowledge, the strategies, and the know-how to how to go about doing that. But one of my first mentors, a self-made millionaire, a gentleman in Sydney, and he encouraged me, he said, and I had no money at the time, I was sleeping on a friend's couch, $150,000 in debt. I'd started the business at 21 years of age and made some good money and failed spectacularly and lost a lot of money. And I was close to bankruptcy. And I was really I had a choice at the time. I was living in a suburb in Collaroy, in northern beaches of Sydney, those who know Sydney. And I had the choice to go back and become a farmer. I grew up on a farm in northern New South Wales, some of you would know. And that wasn't that appealing to me, and farmers might understand why. Or I could try and turn my life around. And I guess what you'd call a threshold. I don't know anyone in the room has ever been at that point where you get to a threshold where you're so frustrated, so fed up with your life conditions or your life circumstances, you get to a point where it comes to a point where you just go, that's absolutely it. I cannot handle this anymore, and you have a choice. You have a choice either to settle and say, there's nothing you can do to change your situation, life is that's just the way it is, or you have a choice to say, I don't care what it takes, I will find a way to change my circumstances. I will find a way to improve my life. And that was a threshold. So really for me, it was a lot of pain that led me to success. The financial pain that I was going through at the time seemed so immense, so challenging, that I never ever wanted myself to be in this situation again. Having no money, having complete uncertainty, no job, no future prospects, about to face bankruptcy, despite all the good work and the hard effort I'd put in for years to amount to what looked like effectively nothing. And it was a very challenging time in my life. And I was fortunate enough at that point to find a mentor. And that really what started to change my life. And I was just show me the money. So when I first met my mentor, just show me the money. It's just I need to have some money to pay some rent, otherwise I'm going to get kicked out of my mate's house. And I was quite desperate at the time, financially particularly. So what I was able to do, though, what he said to me, he said, Jamie, there's a few things you need to change. And he said, first of all, you need to give up the story. He said, you need to give up your story, the story of why you're at where you're at. Because my story at the time was, life is unfair, I've lost all this money, it's not my fault. I was blaming my business partner. I didn't even know he had a lot to do with it, but I was blaming other people. And there's two ways to live life. You might want to jot this down. I think I covered this many years ago on a DVD. I'm not sure it's in the HomeStudy now. But I think it's so critical because, dealing with different people in my life, even on a day-to-day basis, I see this that holds so many people back. And what he shared with me, there was two ways to live life. One way to live life is what we call above the line. And the other way to live life is below the line. And I'll explain what I mean by that, because I think it's so critical and so simple, because we're going to get serious this weekend. This weekend is all about, the ability, obviously, to master your finances. Who's here predominantly because you want to improve a financial result in your life? Raise your hand. Majority of you, that's one of the reasons why you enrolled. And it's probably not the only reason. For many of you, the reason you think you've enrolled in this event is not the real reason why you're here. I found, and I believe, my belief in life is that there's a higher power, higher source of life that drives us if we're open to wisdom and guidance. And a lot of the reasons we're led through life, if we're open to that guidance, that intuition, whatever you choose to believe in, that will guide us to learn certain lessons, to meet certain people, that will help us on our destiny through life. Who thinks that might be true? At least if you're open to it. And I believe for a lot of you, the real reason why you're here is different to why you thought you'd come. So for many of you, you're going to get a lot more out of this event than what you expect. And the reason I've designed this program, the way I created 21st Century Academy, was created actually over 11 years ago. And it all started when I was at university. I've been doing some interviews recently. I get asked this a lot about some of the work that I do. But how it all started is I was at university. I went off to, I was taught to work hard, get good grades. One day, with good grades, you'll go to university, get a good job, and you'll live happily ever after. And age 65, you retire to the good life. How's that going for everyone, by the way? That's success for me. That's what I was taught. That's what most of us were taught. So I went to school, got reasonably good grades. I wasn't academically top of the class, but I was able to sort of coast through. I was more interested in playing rugby league and chasing girls and actually being focused on academic studies. Who can relate to that? Any guys, at least? And I was enjoying that, but the challenge is that when you start thinking about your career, what are you going to do with the rest of your life? When 16, 17, 18, and those thoughts start coming, what am I going to do? My career advisor knew I was very ambitious. One of my first goals in life was to be a millionaire at 18. And I failed spectacularly. Okay? I was making a lot of money. My first business, entrepreneurial business I started was I was about 14, 15, and I made hell of a lot of money. And I was actually making more money than my school teachers. So I was going to school and sitting in a class, and on the 2 days on the weekend, I was making more money than my teachers were earning to teach me. So I started to question the value of being at school. Who can relate to that? If you're making more than your school teachers, sitting here listening to algebra and trigonometry, in my head I was trying to figure out how is this going to help me get what I want in my life. I'm still trying to figure that out, by the way. And then I was thinking, well, this is costing me money to be at school. So I started really to question why I was at school. And I'm sure we've all done that before. We're sitting there for 12 years at school. They teach us how to read, write, and add up. Well, most of us anyhow. And then I'm thinking today, does it really need to take us 12 years to learn how to read, write, and add up? Yes or no? I'm sure we could accelerate that and maybe learn it in the first 2 or 3 years at kindergarten, and then we could actually do something more useful at school. Like learn things that might use later in life. That's my opinion anyhow. I have some pretty strong opinions about our failed and flawed education system. Okay, where was I? I was about to tell you a very important point. What was I up to? Yeah, I was making more money than the teachers. So what I started to do was question that. So I was very ambitious. And the reason I was making more money than my teachers is that I'd started on the farm, which my parents still have to this day. My father taught me very well. In other words, he said, on the farm is a great lesson about money. Because being a farmer, you have to sow before you reap. Is that true? You actually have to take on a commercial risk. You have to put in the hard work to sow a paddock. You got to clear, you got to plow, you got to do all this work in the heat of summer. And there is no guarantee of a return. Is it true? No guarantee. You can't say, well, I'll only do it if I'm guaranteed it'll work. Imagine saying that. I don't think nature really cares whether you make money or not, So there is this commercial risk. So you have to put all the work and effort in, and it may not work. And it's a great analogy for investing, because how many people in Australia would like to be wealthier, but they'll say, I'll invest if you can guarantee it. Is that the psychology or the attitude to have to be a millionaire, yes or no? Absolutely not. It's a psychology of someone who's going to fail miserably because they're looking for guarantees in life. One of my earliest mentors said to me, Jamie, he said, there is no guarantees in life. Life is a risky business. Actually, it's so risky, in fact, there's not a single person in this room that's going to get out of life alive. That's how risky it is. Is it true? Yeah. So accept risk. The greatest danger in investing, the greatest danger in life is to try and be in denial of risk or to avoid all risk. You want to think about that. I want to talk about that with investing this weekend. This weekend you're going to learn some amazing strategies. You're going to learn how to master your finances, but more importantly than that, I want to share with you some skills and, emotional tools that will help you not only master your finances, but master your life. Because I could just teach you the financial strategies to dramatically improve your income, things that I've learned off millionaires and billionaires that I've applied to my life over the last decade or so, last 15 years, that had a dramatic increase in my income. I remember when I can't remember exactly how many years ago, probably close to 15 years ago, when I was getting back on my feet, I was earning barely $50,000 a year, and I was able to increase my income in a period of 15 months, almost up to $1 million a year, by learning some simple strategies. I was then able to go and acquire millions of dollars of real estate when I was starting out with nothing in my 20s. And some people say, oh, Jamie, you were lucky to become a millionaire in your 20s. You got in before the property boom. Let me ask you this question. Was I lucky, yes or no? Well, I was lucky. The better question is, was I luckier than 19 other million Australians at the time, yes or no? I was no luckier than anyone else. See, some people say wealthy people, like Richard Branson or Oprah Winfrey or Bill Gates, they were just lucky. They stumbled across a good business idea and they were just lucky. Sure, luck favors the brave, but luck wasn't the critical determinant of the success, just like it won't be for yours. What was critical is that we took advantage of opportunity when others didn't. Make sense? We took advantage of opportunity when others didn't. Where others, the fear come in, held them back, or simply they weren't aware of the opportunity, they weren't looking for the opportunity, they weren't prepared for the opportunity, and thus opportunities went by the whole life. Who's following what I'm saying here? And when we look at this weekend, what's it going to take for you, no matter how well you're doing? I respect there's people in this room already that already are self-made millionaires, and I acknowledge you for that. There's some people in this room here already that are very successful property investors, or very successful in the share market, or very successful in your careers or business, or very successful being a great mum or a great father. In different aspects of your life, very successful. I respect a large majority of you around finances are just starting out. Is that true? Many of you would be classified as novice investors. Some of you have never invested yet in your life. True? Okay, so everyone's on a different angle, starting from a different basis point. So I respect that, and we're going to cater for all that. We're going to start with the basic strategies this weekend, and then we're going to work up with more advanced strategies, and to give you, I guess, a smorgasbord or a buffet of choices. Because what's great is this, most people go to bed thinking and praying that, I wish there was a way. I wish there was one way that I could become wealthy, or one way that I could improve the finances in my life. And what you're going to find after 4 days here, you're going to leave here, and you're going to have what's called a quality problem. Jot this down, quality problems. Because that's what I'm going to be talking about a lot this weekend. People think, if I could only learn these things, or I could only have this, achieve a certain result in my life, and then all my problems will go away. Well, I'm here to enlighten you, folks. Your problems in life won't necessarily go away. As soon as you get rid of one problem, guess what then arrives? Another problem. So, jot this down. Get used to problems. Jamie, you're meant to be here to motivate me, not to press me. But the key in life, if you want to live an extraordinary quality of life, this is what I've learned. You want to live an extraordinary quality of life, what you're after is better quality problems. If you can't avoid problems, that you're always going to have problems in your life, let's go for high quality, better quality problems, because that's what you want. That's what you want. And I look at some of the challenges I face in my life today, and I look around and go, you know what? I have to stop myself and think, you know what, Jamie, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you would have prayed for these sort of problems. You would have loved these sort of problems. And I'm going to suggest to each and every one of you in this room that your greatest problem is someone else's greatest dream. Your greatest problem you have is someone else's greatest dream. There's a majority of people on the planet that would swap places in a second with you. Do you realize that? Your greatest problem is someone else's greatest dream. We only think our problems is when we get so enrolled in life, so caught up in the drama, and we think we get stuck. You've heard the saying before, I'm sure. If you haven't, you might want to consider this. The same level of thinking that created the problem will not be the same level of thinking that will solve the problem. In other words, your level of thinking that's created your problems, because we're going to talk about that in a moment, is most of the problems we self-create. Or if we assume ownership that we self-create, we're in a position to change them. So you require a different level of thinking to solve your problems. Now, for me, because I've studied finances and what it takes to become wealthy for a decade and a half now, then I have a lot of people come to me with their problems, and for me, I can solve their financial problems in an instant. It's not even difficult. Why? Because I have a different level of thinking. In other words, if you could put in your situation and borrow a millionaire or billionaire's thinking, put their head on your shoulders, and they would look at your situation and they would do things differently. Is that true? They would see different opportunities to what you see. They would see it from a different angle, different perception. They say, could do this, this, and this, and they would probably achieve a much greater result in a shorter period of time. It's just like if all the wealth in the world was, everyone was made equal financially, or everyone had to start from zero again. Most of the people that have the wealth now would quickly have it back again, and the people would lose their wealth that didn't. So let's say we gave everyone $3 million. Who'd be excited by that? Great seminar, $3 million, I'm out the door. Everyone start with $3 million. We would find in 5 or 10 years that we gave, not so much in this room because it would be not an accurate statistic of the country because you're the cream of the crop, basically. Okay, does that make sense? To be in this room, I'm making this assumption. I could be wrong. I'm making this assumption that you're above average. True? Yep. Above average intelligence. Who's willing to agree with me on that one? Okay, now that could be biased. My point is that you're above average because you're willing to commit both time and money to improving your quality of life. The average person does not do that. The average person is far too fearful, far too cynical, far too skeptical to do that. The definition of intelligence, jot this down. The definition of intelligence, see, most of us are being taught at school and university that to be successful in life, we have to be academically brilliant. We have to do very well academically, get degrees, go out and get a good job, and that will lead to success. Okay? And that's what most of society is taught. When you leave school or leave university, even if you're at top of the class, you'll sometimes find there's a discorrelation because when you go out in the real world, does the real world really care how many degrees you have, or is the real world only interested in one thing? That one thing is what? Results. You produce a result or you don't. It's black or white, is it true? You either produce a result. If you go and get a job, your PhD may help you get the job in the first place, so it can be beneficial, but if you can't perform, if you're just only academically smart, then it's not enough to excel in today's world. And this is what frustrates so many people. I was talking the other day on the radio about this, and the reality is the most successful people financially that I've studied, billionaires. I've met personally now over about 6 or 7 billionaires I had the chance to study of in recent years. Billionaires and multi-millionaires. Ironically, if you study their stories, were they top of the class? Yes or no? In most cases, they weren't. Most cases, they were on the bottom half of the class. Did they finish college and university in most cases? Yes or no? No, most of them dropped out of college or didn't even get anywhere near college. Now, am I saying we should take from that the recipe to success is to drop out of school early and flunk college? Yes or no? That's not what I'm suggesting. But I'm suggesting that what Albert Einstein said is the true definition of intelligence is not about academic success. And that's coming from someone that's considered or was considered very academically intelligent. He said the sign of true intelligence is the ability to entertain an idea. Jot that down. If you heard it before, jot it down again so you really get it. Is the ability to entertain an idea. Now, what the hell does that mean? It simply means this. What he is saying is that majority of people are too closed-minded, too fearful, too cynical, too skeptical to be open to entertaining new ideas. And as a result, they miss out on opportunity in life. So my challenge to each and every one of you this weekend is to be open to entertaining new ideas, because the same level of thinking that's got you to where you are today, that's created the problems you have in your life today, is not going to get you to where you need to go. Does that make sense to everyone? So we have to change our thinking, enhance our thinking, and attain some new ideas to be able to take us from where we are today to where we want to go. Making sense? And that's what I had to do. If I kept the same level of thinking I had 15 years ago, there's no way I would have become a millionaire in my 20s. No way I would have had the business success I've had, the success in different areas of my life. No way, because I didn't have the mental capacity at that point. I had to entertain a lot of new ideas. Because the problem is when we become fearful, or we get hurt, we put the hand on the stove, it burns, we quickly learn don't do that again. And then we start looking at our future based on our past. If we went in the share market before and we've lost money, it's burnt our hands. True? And we carry that wound, we carry that reference, and we go, any other time we look at the share market or opportunity, we go, oh no, but I remember last time I got burnt, I'm not going to go there. So our past starts to dictate our future. True? Or even if you haven't burnt your hand, you will know a story of someone else that has. So you borrow their story, oh, my friend or my next door neighbor, my great aunt lost money in the share market. Therefore, you'll use that past experience of someone else to stop you from having a clearer, transparent, accurate view of the future. Making sense? It'd be a little bit like driving down the freeway to get here today. And you're driving down the freeway and you're in a hurry and you're looking in the rear vision mirror in behind you to be able to get where you want to go in the future. Would that be intelligent, yes or no? It would be highly dangerous. It would lead to massive failure. And you can start to see why most people fail financially or in business, career, and any aspect of their life if they're looking in the rear vision mirror and using past experiences to guide their future. Jot this down. Your past does not equal your future unless you allow it to. Unless you allow it to. True? Unless you allow it to. So we have to be aware of that. We have what was called negative anchors. Now, of course, around money, no one have negative anchors or negative past experiences, etc. True? So we have lots of them because money is very emotive. We have a lot of emotion culturally and statistically. In Australia and most Western countries, the emotions attached to money are predominantly negative. And we look at that later today, when we look at the psychology of a millionaire, the psychology of a winner, how this affects us and holds us back. For a lot of you this weekend is that there's going to be just a shift in the way that you see the world, the shift in the way that you see money, the shift in the way that you see yourself, and a shift in the way that you understand yourself. The greatest gift that I can give to you is not how to become wealthy. I mean, that's important, and you're going to learn. We're flying in 18 different speakers for you over the next 4 days. You're going to learn some amazing strategies. So you're going to learn, as I said, you'll walk out of here with a quality problem. You'll be like, my God, there's so many different ways to create my dreams. Which one do I do? Which strategies for me? Where do I focus? That's a quality problem, okay? But the greatest gift that I can give you is an understanding of how you operate, of how your psychology, how you make your decisions, how you've made your decisions so far, the habitual patterns that you've made your decisions has led to where you are. Because the first key to creating change, you know, jot this down, and I will get back to living above and below the line in just a moment. The first key to creating change, who can tell me what it is? Starts with an A. Awareness. The first step to creating change is awareness. Now, what does that mean, Jamie? Well, think about it. The reason most people are not successful is they're simply not aware of what they're doing. They're simply not aware how they make the decisions. They're simply not aware of what they do to stop them being successful. So what I like to do, and what's helped me a lot in life, is I like to observe people. Me personally, I love people in general. Most people on the planet I love. A few people I don't particularly like, but most people I love. I'm a lover of people. To be an educator and teacher, you have to love people. Trust me. You have to be extremely patient and be willing to understand and have tremendous patience. Otherwise, you just get too impatient, too frustrated, and go, stupid people. Who's ever had that experience before? Okay. The biggest challenge it holds, another thing if I was to teach you about business, the first thing I'd teach you is that the challenge for most people is they're like, I might as well do it myself. At least I know the job will get done. Who's ever said that before? Yeah, I know. I suspect we're a room full of control freaks. I knew that before you arrived. Is that true? The greater capacity we have to want to become successful, the more part of us that control freak comes out, because we want to control everything in our life. And that can create some challenges. Is that true? How about in relationships if we try that? Who's ever tried controlling the other person? Who's ever tried that before? Come on, you better put your hand up if you're next to your spouse, because they're going to put it up for you. Okay? Who's ever been controlled by other people? As control freaks, we try and do that. So when I look at today, how do we go about having more control over our life without being control freaks? Would that be nice to learn? Yes or no? Without somebody going, I like being a control freak. It's got me this far so far. I'm not changing. and in there lies a danger.